Thanks a lot. Welcome to the talk. I'm Claudio, originally from Italy, but working in Switzerland. And I hope that the title in French is actually what's written here in English, I'm sure. I was at RSA last week, and everything there, every single stand, it's about agentic, right? So, you know, also the stands from Palo Alto, from CrowdStrike, which are different here in Europe. In the US, it's all about agentic. And at Future, we come from a different angle. We come from the authentication angle on to banking websites. So we typically sit at the interface between the banks and their users for authentication, transaction confirmation, also 3D Secure for credit cards, and identity fraud. So this is where we stand. These are some of our customers here in France. We work with Conto, for instance, or with Rothschild. And the company is going very well. We are now more than 60 people, and there's a lot to do. But we started to think about what do we do when everything is agentic, right? And I went to RSA, as I said, and you have a lot of companies that are focusing on agents within the workspace. So you have your employees, and your employees start to use tools that provide agentic solutions. And all of a sudden, you need to authenticate these agents to get access to internal documents, internal information, internal data. So what all of the companies are doing is they're extending their identity and access management solutions to basically go through an OpenID flow or a OAuth token to grant specific access to specific data resources of the companies to the agents. What's going to happen, and what's already happening, is that, of course, the employees that start to work with agents, in the beginning, they pay attention, and they say, like, yes, the agent can get access to this specific folder in my drive, or the agent can access these specific documents. But very soon, as more and more agents are becoming available, people just going to click yes, 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 and then they don't check anymore what kind of access they're granting to the agents. And this is very, very common. I mean, in MFA, with users, there is the whole concept of MFA fatigue, where the users just accept whatever they are prompted with. So we have seen some solutions. For instance, in Claude Code, they actually use a separate LLM that analyzes the content of the command that's about to be executed, and then selectively chooses whether to ask permission to the developer or not to grant access. And we have seen a lot of companies trying to bring visibility into the CISOs onto which agents are actually being used in the company and what data do they have access to. So this is all good and fine for the internal use cases, so employees using agents to authenticate. But what we see here is something a bit different when we look at the market we are in. And this is the example. So today, when you have an online shopping experience, let's say you go to Zalando, you always have the user in control, right? So we are used to this. We first log in, maybe with MFA, maybe without. Then we select an item, let's say blue shoes. We go through the checkout process. We enter our details, such as credit cards, address, etc., and then we click buy. And then a few days later, we get the item that we wanted to buy. And throughout all of this process, we have logging, we have security guarantees, because the user is always the one interacting with the system. So in this case, the intent, what the user wants to do, wants to achieve, let's say buy blue shoes, is observable throughout the whole execution. So you have non-repudiation control, you have audit logs at the different steps, and you have, therefore, liability. The user cannot claim, I didn't want to buy blue shoes, because the online shopping can verify that, the PSP provider can verify that, the credit card company can verify that, and you have at all the steps the proof that the user wanted to do something. Now, with agents, when we look now at the external world, so the same example, you're going to have an agent, a Zalando agent, but you're going to say, like, buy me the blue shoes when they go below 120 euros. And then the agent goes and checks and buys something. And in the end, you might get the shoes, or you might get a red jumper. which in the case of online shopping is not a big problem. You send back the red jumper and you order again the shoes. But we imagine a world that's not too far off, maybe 2-3 years down the line, when you're going to have agents also provided for banks, for trading. And the user will say, like, please buy shares of Palo Alto when they reach a certain point. You want to make sure that the agent doesn't hallucinate. You want to make sure that the brokerage house delivers the right shares that you wanted to buy. So again, in this case, the current identity systems lack this kind of intent trackability. Because at execution time, the intent is not present. The user provided an agent with a specific intent, and then the agent goes and interacts with the systems, and then you get a result. But the systems don't have the capability today to verify which was the intent. If you were here in the presentation just before mine, we were discussing how you can verify identities, government-issued IDs, properties like is the user above 18 or not. So all of this falls apart today with agents. And this is where we at Future A are working. We are working on top of our standard products. We are working on providing 3 pillars. The first one is ensuring that the originator of the request is known and is verifiable. Again, extending the EOD wallet standards, so the digital identity standards that are becoming more and more available throughout Europe. And also what we call which fractional identity, which is, again, the selective disclosure of credentials, meaning what part of me, Claudio, do I want to delegate to my agent? Do I want to delegate my home address because I need it to ship the shoes to my home address? Do I want to delegate my work address because maybe it's a work-related transaction? Do I want to disclose my age, etc.? So the first question is, who is the originator that started the interaction with the agent? The second one is, what is the scope? What is this agent allowed to do? Is it allowed to buy shoes of any color? Is it allowed to buy shoes blue of a certain size, of a certain brand? And this needs to be encoded into what we think is a policy that then the verifier can verify when executing the query. And which gets me to the last point, which is verifiability. So the verifier being the name used in the EOD wallet schemes, the verifier, the online shopping, the bank, the broker, needs to be able to verify both the originator, so the digital identity that initiated the query, and the scope. And to do that in such a way that the intent becomes itself a security primitive, not anymore just the identity. Before we were able to identify a user accessing a website and then identify the actions that that user was performing, but now the intent that that user gives needs to become a security primitive. And now we are doing that at Future A is first extending the EOD wallet specification to embed a policy that gets automatically generated when the user interacts with the agent by working on chain of thought. So understanding how did the agent get to a specific action. So what was the chain of thought that that agent took in order to start its execution. And to verify that the user granted a specific intent in a safe environment. This is what we call trust signals. Then throughout the execution, the agent goes to the website, execute whenever it needs to execute through whatever protocol is available today, so MCP or will be available in the future, we don't know. And the verifier at the end needs to be able to understand the policy language, which we are standardizing and providing as an open standard for review to the relevant consortia, and to verify the intent of the agent and the original user fractional identity, such that in the end, hopefully the user can receive the blue shoes in the example that we had before. So we call this delegation. It's delegation of an intent from the user, the digital identity of the user, to an agent. And what we are saying is that today, yes, there is a lot of work around agentic AI. There is a lot of work around agentic authentication. Most of it we have seen is for the workspace. Some of it is for agentic payments, so payments between agents and system and between agents and agents. But what we are saying is that today, AI agents, as they are coming out today, and what we think in the next 2 years, they're not breaking authentication, but they're actually breaking accountability. And this is what we are working on, both submitting to the open bodies, to the open standards, extensions, such that they can enable this new economy, as well as providing a commercial product for the verifier, so that they can seamlessly both accept digital identities, which anyway they need to do within the next 2 years, based on the European specifications, but also be able to accept agentic identities with their intents attached to them. So this is what we are doing at FutureA. It was a very fast speech. I'm very happy to take any questions either now or later on. Thank you.